Welcome to humaning. My dogs might need out. Isn't that the way? I was listening to a podcast that I like earlier, and the couple on there were talking about having ADHD and autism, two things I can relate to. And they were also talking about being sober for a number of years and how difficult that is. And I can also super relate to that. I'm gonna check these dogs. But quitting drinking is super hard. Not the quitting drinking part. I mean, that might be hard for some people. That part was not so hard. There was aspects of it that were hard. There's things about drinking that I really enjoyed, and the habit of it was hard to give up because I was in the habit. But really, that was not nearly as hard as dealing with trying to become a new person and not knowing how to relate to people in any other context other than as a drinker, as a partier, not knowing how to handle my emotions in other ways other than by drinking them away, or not knowing, I'm going to leave the dogs out here, pardon the lagging, not knowing how to do so many things that instead of learning how to do, I just started drinking in my teens. I drank most of my life, off and on, here and there, but pretty a lot when I look back on it. I like to say I was pretty good at it, and indeed I feel like I was. It served me very well, and so it's been very difficult. On the one hand, it's been super good for my body, and I can heal again, and I'm not saying I want to go back to drinking. I'm so grateful that I was able to give that up. I'm not saying I'll never go back to it either, but for a number of years, like about 3-4 years, actually it was maybe 3-4 years before that, 3-4 years that I was doing like sober January and sober October, taking long breaks from drinking. And then in 2019, right before the pandemic lockdowns hit, actually I helped a friend of mine. We put away all the liquor and quit. He was my drinking buddy and my partner in other ways too. So, but then after that, after maybe like a year or a little less than a year, I would have a couple of drinks here and there, with my bandmates at shows. Couple, nothing heavy. And then that graduated to, a bottle of wine here and there, half a bottle first. And again, I not quickly, was slowly at first, but then eventually found my way back to not nearly the level I had been before that, but back to where I was aware that it was no longer just occasional. I enjoy drinking, and so I was drinking again habitually, and I was dealing with a lot of health issues. And so I was trying to numb that, distract myself from that with drinking, which is a common but very flawed strategy. And so my health started to spiral downwards even more, my mental and physical health, which are the same, they're intertwined, of course. But point being, I finally was like forced to really quit all the way because my body was just letting me know, like, yeah, you're not gonna be around much longer or be functional or be at all the person that you want to be. So, in fact, I lost like all hope really for a while. It was pretty bad. It wasn't just the drinking. There were a whole lot of things, but the drinking was something that was just like amplifies anything, right? And it was amplifying a lot of negative for me and a lot of unwellness. And at this stage of my life, I've drank more than my fair share, you could safely say, and probably a lot of other things too. So I'm not, I don't feel like I'm missing out, except for as I started off in this video saying, the social aspect, and not just even, it's not like I really miss partying so much, and I even continue to go to my partying band practice for over a year after I quit drinking, but entirely. But it became less and less fun because they were still drinking. It just sort of becomes obvious what a downward spiral it is. And at the end, when I stopped hanging out, they were really